something else. Where I was born in Fort Dodge, Iowa. Grew up in northern Wisconsin. So you might hear a little bit of a Wisconsin accent. What I'm going to talk about today is Google My Business. Very short, kind of the 80-20 rule of what is the 20% of things you need to focus on to get 80% of the value from your Google My Business listing. However, before I do that, I wanted to do a little musical intro. I'm a bluegrass musician. That's something personal for me. I'm going to turn on original sound. Turn off original sound. So there's a setting you can do on Zoom so that it doesn't drown out the Zoom considers like background music, like or music noise, and so it tries to filter it out. So there's some settings you can do on Zoom actually to play music. And so I used to play in a bluegrass band in Wisconsin, so I thought I'd just do a little short musical introduction. Has nothing to do with Google My Business. Back up. Bring the mic a little closer. Hear that high lonesome sound, 'cause my sweet baby ain't around. When my life's got me down, I wanna hear that high lonesome sound.
Yay! You know, Brian, it was a couple of years ago when you performed, you know, with Sterling and Jay and all at C4 for my birthday. It was exactly a couple of years ago, and then it started the open mic night. Just a little bit of C4 history trivia.
So C4 used to sponsor a live music open mic with my band, with my business at Root Studio, and so that was a lot of fun. So I'm gonna turn it over to, let's see, switch screens here. See if this works. All right, can you see Google search window? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So first of all, with a show of hands on your videos, who is familiar with Google My Business? Raise your hand. Francois should be raising his hand. There you go. Okay, most people. Who? Let's do it the opposite way. Who's not familiar with with Google My Business? There's one, two, at least two people. Okay, I'm gonna start from the very beginning then for Joanna, and I think it was Donna's benefit. So Google My Business is kind of like Facebook, like Google's version of Facebook. That's like the simple way to kind of think about it. The way you can see a Google My Business page, so everybody is familiar with Google as a search engine. Like you can search for information, so you can search for a business. Let me give you an example. Since Sage is in the room, let's look for Apollo Marketing. Sage and I have a connection through BNI, Business Networking International. We're both leaders in our respective chapters. And then I saw Sarit here too. She's the executive director of all of BNI in Central Maryland. And so actually BNI Central Maryland has a Google My Business page too. And so on the right-hand side over here, This is called a knowledge panel on Google, and your Google My Business listing controls this thing. And so if you're a licensed business in somewhere in the world, Google will have probably created this for you based on your public records, with or without your knowledge. And so your first step is to, especially if you're a licensed business, you want to go search for your name, just like I did here, Apollo Marketing, and see if that thing exists for your business. If it doesn't, you can create one for free. If it does exist, you want to claim it and optimize it. And the claiming process, it's usually a postcard process. Like you go in there and you say, like there's this question here, do you own this business? And I know, I am quite sure that Sage has claimed this, but they put that on pretty much everybody's profile. So someone would if someone tries to claim it, Sage would get a postcard in the mail saying, somebody's trying to claim your account, and then he would not let that person, take control of his Google My Business account, of course. But this is the simple way of how you kind of claim that business listing for yourself. And the other way this Google My Business listing shows up is in the maps. So I'm going to click over here to maps. Let's see how Apollo Marketing shows up in Google Maps. So when you create and claim your Google My Business listing, those are the two primary places it shows up. It's in the kind of knowledge panel results and the regular search listings. And it also appears on a Google Map listing. Some people are searching through the maps. Some people are just searching Google organically. And so Apollo Marketing is a brick and mortar business because you can see the pinpoint right on his location there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And Apollo Marketing right down the street from Five Guys and Firehouse Subs. And he's a 5.0, 17 reviews. His featured image here. So this little image up here that Sage likely uploaded, Google determines what that's going to be. You don't have full control over this like you do a Facebook page. As a business, you can upload photos, you can upload videos, 30 seconds or less, 100 megabytes or less. But Google's going to decide what it kind of shows on your home screen there. You can kind of influence it by deleting things off of there, but you can't force, you can't tell Google, well, I want this picture as the featured image on my Google My Business listing. They're going to decide that for you. So here's some examples of photos he's got in his listing. You can see the by owner photos. There's the street view, of course, on maps. There's the street view listing, etc. And so the concept, the reason this is important, which Ann Brennan is also another one of my colleagues. She's actually in my BNI chapter, amazing social media strategist. She and I, both Ann and I, really preach the importance of Google My Business listings, even from a social media perspective. It's one of the most overlooked things, I think, in social media. People don't think of it as social media because it's actually kind of a new player in the world of social media. Google initially had a thing called like a Google Plus page, and they eliminated that and they put all their kind of eggs in the Google My Business basket. And so they allow you to post content on there now, similar to how you would do Facebook. Let me go back to that. So I want to let's go to my Google My Business page. The way you get to a Google My Business listing, once you've claimed it and optimized, you just go to google.com/mybusiness. And then it'll take you to the Google My Business dashboard. And then this is where you kind of control everything. This is where you can do posting. You can post content on there. The reason why we say Google My Business is so important is because as of the last quarter of 2019, 50% of search traffic no longer leaves the Google platform. When somebody's searching for something on Google, 50% of it just stays there. People get the information. There's 13 different ways you can show up on Google and featured kind of results. So Google is really trying to help people just get the answer they need right on that platform without even leaving, without going to your website, for example. So in our opinion, like this is just as important and sometimes more important than your own website. And it's usually more important than your social media platforms, depending on how you get business. Let me sign in there. And so this is like, we really preach and encourage people to claim and optimize this platform because you can get significant traffic, leads, business from this platform. These are, you'll see all kinds of businesses in here because I do this for a living. So you'll see different businesses that I have claimed in here. Let's go over to Loebig Ink. So this is your kind of Google My Business dashboard. I just want to pay attention to a few things in here. I do a 2-hour training on just Google My Business. So I'm not going to take 2 hours. I'm going to take like 2 more minutes and focus on a few things you should really focus on. I know Corliss is focused on this too recently, right? And so one of the things you can do is create a post. And so that process is pretty simple. You update your status. You can add a little call to action button, like learn more is the common one. You can put a link to your website. I always recommend for businesses to focus on sending people back to your website as opposed to like on Facebook, you might send them to an article that you like, or on Twitter, you might share or retweet something that somebody else created. I recommend focusing all your attention on your own business and your own links on Google My Business. You want to generate traffic. Then you can see that traffic coming into your website as well. You can create little offers. You can create what's new. One of the things that Google added during the pandemic, right towards the beginning of the pandemic, I think early April, they created a COVID-19 notice. This is one of those things that is really important to update if you're a small business, because what will happen is when somebody goes to your Google My Business page, there's going to be a warning there that says the hours and services may differ because of the pandemic. So check with the business before you go there. And so so a lot of times what people do is that they'll be concerned that you're either not open or you don't have plans to deal with people in a safe way. And so they'll go to the next business. And so they make it really easy for you to update your status, creating a COVID-19 update. Actually, the update disappears, I found out, like after about 1 or 2 weeks. So you want to keep that updated on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And so just basically telling people, we're open for business. We're keeping people safe by doing X, Y, and Z. We're social distancing in our business, or we're meeting by Zoom now. We're not meeting face to face, or whatever you're doing is a really, really important, because it's the first thing people are going to see on your Google My Business listing is that COVID notice, because Google wants to keep people safe as well. So that's part of that 80-20 rule. The other thing that people really need to do to get the most visibility out of this free platform is to post photos and video. And Weston can speak to the importance of video. The videos on this platform need to be 30 seconds or less and 100 megabytes or less. That's kind of the downside of it. But if you get a professional videographer like Weston, he can create like 2-minute video and then do a clip, do a 30-minute clip that you can use for Google My Business. He can scale it down to 100 megabytes. And that is actually key. Like video is like probably even more valuable than photos on here. The profiles with when you get up to like 100 photos on here, and you might think like, how am I going to publish 100 photos? If you do if you do a small amount of photos every week, you'll get there in a few months. And it's important. It's actually important because of the businesses that have like 100 plus photos get 80 times the traffic as businesses that have less. The average number of photos on a Google My Business profile is 3 to 4 on average, world, like nationwide. And so you can easily create a strategic competitive advantage over your competitors by just uploading a dozen, one time. And you might be thinking, well, if you're like Will and you're doing something like you're sharing QR cards on the internet, so what kind of photos am I going to post on this thing, right? I was looking at your Instagram page. The Instagram photos are the kind of stuff you can put on here. You can put your Instagram photos, we'll have different QR codes right on your Google My Business page. If you're doing, other kinds of things that you're doing, if you have team members, if you have a team that you're working with, put their headshots on there and put it under the team section. If you do websites, put examples of websites. If you develop social media profiles, do a screenshot of all your Facebook pages, put them up there as examples. It creates, visibility for your clients as well as for your own Google My Business page. So that's kind of the 80-20 rule. Do photos, do short video, claim and optimize your profile, do that COVID notice. That's kind of the main things I want to really focus on to kind of leverage this opportunity, and then really treat it like kind of like a social media. People can't respond to your posts. Like, it's not interactive. It's like one-way communication. but it's very valuable. And it's like, you know, you're going to get the advantage of that 50% of traffic that doesn't leave Google by managing this platform.
Hey, Brian, I was in and out on a call and I saw you pull my stuff up, which I think was great. Unfortunately, I just changed location. So now I don't even have a business view anymore. It sucks. But did you go into info? Go back into yours. Did you go to info for service locations? Because that's so important. A lot of people still haven't updated their Google My Business when Google switched from that, like over a year ago now. People just forgot to do service areas.
Yep, good point. So one of the things that, that brings up another important point is if you are a home-based business, you don't want that little pinpoint to show up on your house, Google allows you to say you serve people at their location, and so then it drives like a concentric circle around your service area, and you can actually specify the different service areas that you want to focus on. And so we experiment a lot with this in SEO. We do actual Potomac. We kind of drill down to all the little cities that you serve to try to get more visibility. We've seen some positive impact of that. Yep.
Can I ask a question? What if your business is virtual? Because I do have mine set up and I have changed it so it's not specific to a state because I have clients from all over. So what do you do to change that?
Good question. Common question for people that serve people everywhere, their virtual business. You start off with claiming it from where you're physically located. You have to verify these business locations from a physical address. So you can't, you have to have a physical address to claim and optimize these profiles. So you're going to choose wherever your physical home address is. If you move, if you moved from Silver Spring to the West Coast or something, you want to go in there and change that location. Now you can still keep the service areas kind of very large, and broad. My opinion though, is Google has a very strong local algorithm. And so I would recommend, even if you're going to serve nationwide, you can put that in there. You can put major cities, or you can say, entire US. I would still recommend putting the location where you're physically located, because that will allow you to show up over those national companies that are competing with you. If you're going to say you serve people nationally, there's a lot of national companies that do what you do. And they're probably going to have a much larger budget. The national companies are going to have a big budget. They're going to have big advertising. And so the way you can compete with them is locally. Google will show, when somebody searches for the type of business you do, for example, Reiki services, somebody's going to be searching from your physical location. Google, it wants to show them the Reiki masters that are physically close to them. That's a very strong algorithm. So we recommend putting your service areas, that local area, and then you can branch out from there.
Brian, do you have to put in suppose you don't want your home address. If you work from home, you don't want your home address in there.
Yep, that's what I was suggesting, is you have to put your home address in there to get verified, but you don't want people to see that. Right, but then what you do is you tell people right here, actually. That's actually what I do. So, because I work from home, so there's this little feature right here. And so basically I'm telling Google that I serve people at their location. I don't want my address to show up on the map. So there's a way you can do that right here.
Oh, it seemed like I had a problem with that. Okay.
Yeah. Brian.
Yes.
Can you, I hate to interrupt your this is so good, but I do want to show something. So can you pull up the Chesapeake Bay Outfitters on there? Just pull up Chesapeake Bay so that we see their knowledge box on the right-hand side, because I want to tell people something you and I talked about. They're rolling out, but it's happening slowly. And that's the only one that I can think of right now that I know has it.
It's nice to have other digital marketers on the call to add value.
Yeah. Well, I joined, everybody, just so you know, I joined Brian's BNI because he was the first person other than me to say that he thought that it was one of the most important things to do is to do Google My Business. And nobody ever says that. So if you look further down, you see where it says buy a gift card?
Oh, yeah.
There is an option, not for everybody. It's coming out slowly, but if you have a charity or you have a business that sells gift cards, there's an option in there to set this up. It's part of one is like COVID update, the other is COVID support. And if you put that up, it will give you an option to either say donate or get this gift card. That's hugely powerful, but it's not for everybody. So,
explain how this works. So this is Chesapeake Bay Outfitters. What is the gift card for?
So it'll be, so you could buy like a $50 gift card to buy, to get clothing from them when they open. They are open now, but you could buy a gift card and give it to somebody to support the store because you like St. Michael's, you like the store, but then you can give it to somebody else. So it's just an extra way for people to buy immediately, since they're more likely to see this than anything else.
Very good. Excellent.
So just an extra way. But donations as a charity, it's a huge thing. And Burgers and Bands doesn't have it right now.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other questions or advice from the digital marketers in the room?
This is Sarit. I have a question. So you said you mentioned 100 pictures. Is there a limit to how many pictures and videos we can upload there?
Nope. I've seen tens of thousands in some companies.
Okay.
Google My Business profiles.
So I can put all the videos that we put on BNI in there, right?
30 seconds or less.
Okay.
That's the big limitation.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. Really great information. Really appreciate it. You'll get a call about my business. Thank you.
You're welcome.
By the way, Brian was the one who put it on Google. So.
Yep. I put several people's Google My Business profiles on Google in this room, actually.
Look up your messaging. It's awesome. I've had people reach out to me via messaging before. You have that option on there if you go back to it, Brian?
On the Google My Business page?
Yeah, go into the Google My Business. You can just hook up messaging through there. All you got to do is just download the app on your phone. You can actually have messaging so people can actually reach out to you straight through Google My Business. It's really cool.
That's awesome, Sage. Expect a phone call from Dawn about that.
What's the app?
Yeah, and just to let people know too, as an FYI, I got started into using Google My Business a couple years ago, really, and posting on there, putting pictures on there, and you can actually see who's viewing your pictures and videos, which is really cool, and you can get a lot of views on Google. And also, I actually converted. I got a customer through Google about 2 months ago, and it's a very big project actually. So really, this is a really important platform to leverage because people are very active on search engines, whereas social media is more of a passive interface. People happen to come across you. People on search engines are actively searching for services. So it's a great way of interacting with people who are highly motivated.
Correct. Good advice.
So, Brian, we have a Google My Business page, and it's up, but we need to work on it. So I think we need to show it to you or hand it to you. And I also was wondering about you were talking about doing a Google My Business training that you usually do, because it sounds like there's so many different aspects from what Anne's saying and Sage is saying and you're saying, that it would be cool if maybe there was some kind of training, and maybe you'd be open to doing a training for C4 that was like at another time, not during a meeting time, but like in the evening on Zoom or something. Maybe we could talk about that, because I think that
we could do like a panel training with some
Sage
of the
and
digital folks in the group. How to
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will send an email about that.
Brian, I have a question.
Okay.
I wanted to know that little button that you can push that says, "Is this your business?" Can anybody push that button?
Yes.
And what can happen?
They can. So what will happen is a request will go to you as the owner of that. If you've claimed and optimized a profile, I think you will get a notification that somebody is reclaiming or is trying to claim your business, and you can just ignore it. The only way they'd be able to take control of it is by requesting a postcard to come in the mail to the business, which is you. And so you'd get the postcard, and so you wouldn't approve they would have to take the verification code off the postcard, log back into their account, and then put that in there to get control of your listing, which would never happen because you wouldn't even know who they are. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Awesome.
I don't like that feature. Like, I feel like if you've claimed your business, that little button should not show up. I don't know why they do that. It's that they have a own this business question mark. I think it's because there's so many Google My Business profiles that go unclaimed or unused. Go ahead, Sage,
Yeah, so I can't tell you how many times I've had businesses that just lose ownership because they lost the email address or the person that was working for them that they had do it, like was an intern or something like that, or some worker, they're just not there anymore, and they lose some of those things.
Yeah.
So they have those there. Unfortunately, it doesn't lead to anything right now anymore. Pre-COVID, it would lead to someone, you can actually get someone on the phone or do something on those. But right now it's kind of useless. I mean, it just says we send an email to someone and that's it. It's just lost in the mix. But before, you could actually sort of escalate it and try to reclaim your listings, because I have tons of businesses that they just don't own their own stuff. They had a marketing company do it for them, and they never got ownership of it, which is stupid, guys. Own your own stuff.
Yes.
On your stuff. Yeah. The other thing is that you can make suggestions. So I have had it happen where competitors of different places will make a suggestion for a change of an address, and the customer never looked at their account. So they never said, no, that's not right. And Google changed their address. So you've got to pay attention to that Google My Business page.
Yes.
It's really important.
They can do that with your service offerings too. And it's
Oh, yeah.
You got to watch your
Really
stuff. I had a carpet cleaning company that they got rid of the carpet cleaning stuff anymore. So all they said that they were like a construction company is what they changed it to. I have no idea how I got through in there, but completely hijacked it.
They changed my father-in-law's account to tags and title, and he does real estate settlements.
Interesting. The other thing on here is people can ask questions. Right here, be the first to ask a question of Apollo Marketing. And so I could ask a question, do you provide web design services? And that question goes to anybody who's connected to Apollo Marketing, anybody who reviewed Apollo Marketing, anybody who is following Apollo Marketing, and Apollo Marketing staff if they've claimed it. And anybody can answer that question. So that's another reason you want to claim and optimize your profile, because you'll be notified if somebody asks a question. Anybody can answer that question. They made it totally public. And so I've had some examples of nefarious scammer type people asking questions and answering the wrong answer just to negatively impact your Google My Business listing. And you can't remove it.
Okay, guys, we have to kind of, there is so much to learn here. Brian, Sage, and Anne, I'm going to reach out to 3 of you because I really would like to do a panel, because obviously we are just scratching the surface, and because we've got to get back to doing some introductions, I have to, but if anybody has specific questions for Brian, please put it in the chat. But if it's good with you guys, I think this panel, and maybe even Wes be involved in that panel, to create kind of a more in-depth thing, because this is fascinating. It was a great presentation, Brian. Of course, loved the music. And can you take it off share, or what are we doing? Oh, wait.
I turned off
there
share.
we go. Okay. So yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much. And I really want to do that panel. We did something similar with Scott Aaron, where we scheduled a time. It was in the evening. We all got on Zoom. We recorded it, and it was great. So yeah. So okay. So let's continue with the introductions, because I want to just be respectful of people's time. I think we may go a little over today, but it's because we're so blessed and have so many people here with us. So Joe, go take us away from the Netherlands, please. Thank you.
Hey. Yes, hi, I'm Joe Sheaton, living in the Netherlands, indeed. International vein of this